Greetings, everyone. I am so excited to be back with you guys as a former Shero of the Month and introduce our new Shero of the Month, Miss Grace Rutha. Um, okay, Grace, tell us more about yourself, introduce yourself, and how it feels to be nominated as Shero of the Month, and also a little bit about what you do.
Thank you, Myra. It's exciting to see you again after the
It
Black Women Love
is.
Letters at the USCHA. I know we loved on each other so much. My name is Grace Rutha, as you said. I am 59 years old, although I look a
Oh,
lot younger. I
do.
guess due to my good health care and medications and adherence. And I am a person living with HIV for the last about 40 years. So I have been long in the HIV movement when we started our medications with AZT, 36 medications a day, and bathrooms all day long. And the side effects were terrible and we almost lost hope. But the good news is that we stuck on, we hung in there and we refused to die. And that's why we are here today. I am a long-term survivor and I appreciate all the other long-term survivors. I came here to the US in 2013, February, as a political asylee. I used to be a journalist in my country. I was the bureau chief for the leading newspaper in my country, and I was also the editor. And we covered the post-election violence where 1,500 people lost their lives. People killed each other because of the presidential election. Neither candidate agreed to the results, and their supporters went into war. And 600,000 people, more than 500,000 people, were displaced. So those of us who are in positions of power as journalists who covered the event, especially us covering an event where 40 women and children who had sought help in a church were burnt to death. They were burnt to ashes by people paid by political leaders. And one woman who threw her child out of the fire watched as the child was thrown back by youth who are just passionate and angry about election results. So we splashed some of this news, and the politicians tried to bribe us. One even offered me 2 million Kenya shillings, which is a lot of money, so as not to splash the news and to hide all this information. And the information that we put up there had them indicted at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. And so they were after my life. So I was in a witness protection for 1 year. And then I came here as a political asylee. So I've been here for 10 years as a political asylum indefinite. And I have built community. My first community here was the HIV community, because when I was in the safe house, I did not have access to medical care, because they just put me in a house alone for 1 year. No access to TV, no access to phone, no access to a human being. Just people in covered clothes that would come and put my food in my fridge and lock me up for 1 year. So not having medication for that year made me develop resistance. It made me get very sick. So I came into the country with a CD4 of 8. And the doctor was thinking of doing a plasma or something, cleaning out my body and all that. But because of access to care then at my clinic then, which was called Philadelphia Fight, I was able to get well, come back into life. You can't believe it, Myra, that when my CD4 cell rose from 8 to 250, I baked such a huge cake. And everybody thought I was crazy. Like, 250, guys, we are at 1,000. What's wrong with this lady? But for me, it was such a great achievement. So my
I know.
community is actually the HIV community. They have uplifted me. They've been supportive to me. They love on me. And I haven't been home for more than 10 years. I haven't seen my family. My mother died a year ago and I was not able to bury her or see her. And my sister
Oh,
died. We were so close to. I wasn't able to see her or bury her. And those are some of the challenges and the stress that affect our quality of life, even though we have our medications. So basically, how I contracted HIV, my diagnosis date is like July 28, around 1983. So I was in high school and I'd gone to visit my sister in the city. It was my first time being in the city because I was a rural girl. And the same night that we had midterm holiday where girls in boarding school like I would go home for 4 days just to have a break from the school, see their parents, bond, and go back. So my sister invited me to the city, and that same evening we were attacked in her house by thugs who raided the house, stole from her, cut me up while they were stealing. And I bled a lot, and they gave me 15 pints of blood that was not screened. And those days they did not screen the blood, and that's how I contracted the virus. And at the end of the day, I said it doesn't really matter. When they do the CD-fund, the viral load, it doesn't matter how you contracted the virus, so there should be no stigma. What's important is your CD4 up, is your viral load suppressed, and are you living a good quality of life? So that's basically my story. And then I'm just happy to be healthy and thriving. That's what's important to me. So I've gone through a lot of stages in my life that I do not really care what you think about me or what you say about me, but how do we help women, especially? I'm passionate about women because we come from positions of disparity, especially as an immigrant coming up where you're not even allowed back home to ask the doctor any questions. The doctor is like a small god. They just tell you, we are giving you this medicine, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I remember at this point that when I came out public in my country and said I was positive, my doctor called me and said that was the most stupid thing that anybody could ever do.
Wow.
That I was a fool. Like I'm supposed to hide some of these things. But that my doctor later on passed from AIDS-related complications because he kept his own status secret, did not take his medications, but prescribed for me the same medications, which reminds me again that even doctors are humans like us, and we do need to support them as much as they support us. How it feels to be a Shero, I am completely humbled, confused, overwhelmed. I'm just so happy, and I'm excited. I did not expect it. I don't know who even thought about this whole idea of me being a Shero. Like I am just Grace. I'm just supporting fellow women. I'm just loving on my fellow women and helping educate or give resources where I can. So I'm a little shy about this shining light. I like being in the background.
Oh,
But I'm really, really humbled and grateful, and it kind of you see, now I'm even speechless.
yes,
That's it. Like
yes.
now I'm lost for words. But I'm really grateful to Positive Women's Network for their advocacy and their appreciation of women every single day. For me, every woman is a Shero. And I'm just a torch at the moment to shine light and let others shine and continue that light. So that's all I can say about it.
Awesome.
And then,
Awesome.
yeah, last question. What do I do?
Yes.
So right now I'm the National Training and Development Manager, National Training and Development Manager for the Positive Women's Network USA. Of course, this, as you know, Myra is a women-led, women-founded organization for trans and cis women living with HIV. We create safe spaces for all. We believe everybody who identifies as a woman has to be given that respect as a woman. And it is not up to you to decide what you think or feel about what someone identifies themselves as. We respect that, we honor them, we celebrate them. And our aim is to create women leadership, create women towards the pipeline of the Denver principles, where there's nothing about us without us, to help center them in community advisory board, HIV planning councils, presidential advisory committee on HIV, board of directors in any organization or association that deals with HIV, because nobody can make decisions about us without us. So we train on policy, we train on advocacy, we train on public speaking, we train on disclosure, we train on people first language, anything that can help a woman, especially a Black woman, come into positions of power. Because for many years, decisions have been made about us without us. people decide for us how we feel, how we think, what we should do. But we are coming into this revolutionary liberation where we as women and we as persons living with HIV have to sit at the table and make decisions. We are not eating the food that we did not participate in preparing or even have an idea what the spices were, what the menu was, where it was cooked, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So that's what I do. So
Okay, awesome, awesome. You have been a Shero for a long time, I see. Oh my goodness. And you are so deserving to be Shero of the Month. You really are.
thank
Um, I appreciate you standing your ground and just being living in your truth for so long. Uh, a lot of women usually don't see the kind of strength that you portray. And moving forward, especially with this new position, what do you expect in moving forward?
I am transitioning in the new job, but I want to say that I've been a health instructor at a different
Mhm.
organization for the last 10 years. I have been the deputy director for treatment education activists combating HIV. And I also recently started a support group for 50
Mhm.
plus persons living with HIV, both men and women, trans and cis, people of non-conforming gender. And a lot of us are aging with HIV. And that's one area I would
That's
really
true.
love to capitalize on because, as you know, we refuse to die, and they did not expect us to be here today. So they were not prepared for us. They were not prepared for Black women and non-Hispanic women leadership. They did not expect to see us in these places. They expected us to be in the shadows. And my main focus is to bring all these women with us. We are coming to the forefront and we are ready for the battle.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So now, when did you join the Positive Women's Network? Could you tell us a little bit about your initial joining and
I joined the Positive Women's Network through my two initial mentors, Wahida Shabazz El and Teresa Sullivan, whom I met at Philadelphia Fight. They were already instructors there in Project Teach. So they grabbed me along with them immediately and told me there's this beautiful place where, even though you're an African with a funny accent, and a lot of the times people say they don't understand you, we are non-discriminatory, we are all inclusive. And surprisingly, they were able to understand my accent there. And that encouraged me. So they all guided me, they held my hand. And I've been with Positive Women's Network for more than 10 years as an active member. I've also been engaged with them in the field. I am a chief canvasser. I love knocking on people's doors. I might look quiet and I have a
uh-huh.
quietish voice, but there's some power behind the doors. When I knock on your door, I will not leave until you open. So we've been canvassing in the Northeast, asking voters to come out and vote, helping them with their mail ballot boxes, deep canvassing with them to inform them about the choices that they may need to make when they go to the ballot, and to choose leaders who will look out for their welfare.
Like I said, you are so deserving of being Shero of the Month for October. You really are. Um, is there anything else you would like to tell us about your journey? And it has just listening to you, I am in awe. I am in total awe of some of your experiences before you got here. A lot of people we don't go through a lot of stuff like that. So your strength and resiliency, it just speaks volumes to me. It really does, and the way that you advocate here, you know, and I believe that when people see you and see this interview, it's going to really empower them. It's going to be very impactful. So, what would be your next steps?
Yeah, my next steps, for me, mentorship is a big deal. And I do
Yes.
believe that if we stay in certain positions of power for too long, the power gets into our heads.
Ah,
So I think,
yes.
yes, you get too much power and it is human nature to tend to forget where we came from. So it's important to mentor other women, to step back and let other women also share in that space. They need to share their stories. They need to bring in the experience. They need to bring in their leadership skills. So for me, mentoring other women, holding a sister's hand is the most important thing for me.
Um, okay, I heard you mention that you were actually from a rural area, and I think that part of the connection that I might have felt from your vibe is I'm from a rural area too, here in Alabama. Uh, so how do you feel about the disparities from the larger the northern states, I'll say, as opposed to the southern, what's going on in the south? Do you have any comments about that, or have you heard anything
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
Yeah, so my rural area is a lot like South Carolina. We have mosquitoes biting you. Except the mosquitoes in South Carolina do not give you malaria, but the mosquitoes back home kill. It's the number one killer. So when I was home, I was one of the few privileged people who had access to HIV medication. It was so
Mhm.
expensive. And a lot of people, we did not have access to hospitals. And one of the challenges was that the only hospital, which was like 10 to 15 kilometers away, first you have to hide when you go to this hospital because people might see me. We come from a communal environment where everybody is accounted for another. We do not live in apartments alone like I do here. You can't live alone. Everybody lives together. So you cannot take your medications alone. You cannot go somewhere alone. Like, oh, where are you going? I'm coming with you. So we had this one hospital where they gave HIV medication once a month, and they only gave it from 8 a.m. to midday, 4 hours. So
Mm.
if you were not the first on the line, they gave the first 100 people medicine, and this was the PEPFAR
Wow.
medicine. Everybody got the same medicine. And what medicine was this? AZT, which had been banned in the other countries, including the US. But they dumped all that medication in my rural area. And that's the only medication we had. So we are all rushing. Some of us were sleeping at the hospital gate a night before to be among the first 100 people, because the next time you come back, it will be a month later and you'll have run out of your medications. And then if you miss the next month, you have to wait another month, so up to 3 months, if you're not among the first people. So you'd find people fighting and pushing each other, to get
Mhm.
medication. And then they say at midday that now come back next month. So the resistance level is still so high. We have that. And also, as they give you medication, they insult you. They say, oh, look at you. Oh, you're fighting over medication. You're people who are just having sex left, right, and center. You're sinful creatures. You should ask God for forgiveness. The nurses there are not trained to handle people living with HIV with dignity and humanity. So we have those kind of challenges. We also have, because of lack of literacy, we have these researchers coming in, and there's a case where the 12 Kenyan women just won a case in 2012 where they sterilized them. So before in the hospitals, if you gave birth to a baby who was positive, they would kill the baby.
Wow.
And then they moved from that to now sterilizing the mothers without telling them, making them sign documents when they're straight from anesthesia and do not know what the meanings of the words are. As a community health worker in America, we have a lot of refugees and also just immigrants. There's a woman immigrant I was taking care of, visiting her at home and everything. When I visited her at home, I knocked and she didn't open the door. She was unconscious. And I called 911. So my job as a community health worker was to visit homes of people living with HIV, both men and women and children, and to check why they had not come for care, whether they needed food and all that stuff. So the woman was sick. I called 911. They took her to hospital. She wouldn't talk. And when she woke up, she told me that she had a lot of medications under her bed, which she had not been taking. And if I could find for her a traditional African medicine man to come and remove and exorcise the spirits so she could heal, because she's not taking the medications, are not going to work for her. Yeah. So I told her, you can do both if that's your belief. Talk to someone from your community, but also take your medicine. It doesn't hurt, just do both. So we carried all these boxes of medications back to the pharmacist. But eventually, after the education, I told her, you don't have to be ashamed. And then she started taking her medication, and now she's fine. She looks young and beautiful, and she's back to work. But they're not saying they're not taking the medication out of fear and stigma. So I don't know whether that sounds like anything close to your North and South analysis.
Oh, yes, yes. It really does, because there's a lot of that here in the South where I live. First of all, if you are HIV positive, you're just a bad person. And they really need to hear stories like yours and other people who, healthcare workers, they need to hear these stories so we can tear down the stigma. And you do a lot. I see. You are so deserving of being Shero of the month of October. You really are. Now, one more question. I think this will be my last question for you. You do so much. It seems like you have a vast array of things that you do. But what we'd like to know is, what do you do in your leisure time to de-stress, to unwind, because there's a lot of some of the things could be stressful. They're emotional that you do sometimes. I know there's a lot of it's rewarding, but it can also be stressful. So what advice would you give to other people, our PWNers who watch this video? What would you tell them about de-stressing, leisure time?
Okay. I am so big on self-care and self-love. You wouldn't believe it.
Okay.
And I have the courage to say no. I can't take any more of this workload. And I have the courage to say it's now 6 o'clock. I know haven't finished this, but I'm gonna start tomorrow. I'm gonna continue tomorrow from where I left.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have saying no is such a big, big important of my self-care. I don't just say yes because I've been invited to a Christmas party or we are going out on a vacation with friends. No, I really have to see whether it's good for my health. So basically, I say no. I don't take on more load. I used to, but I've learned a long time to not spread myself too thin, and to say no, and also to reach out for help. If I have too much work either in the office or at home or too many responsibilities, I reach out. I write a lot. I'm a published author. I have a book that's in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere, called God's Child on the Run. And the name on the book is Omwa, which is my African name.
Yes, yes.
I watch movies. I'm a performing artist. I'm a musician. I used to have a band of 30 people. I used to perform in a pub, in a club. I sing a lot. So I've also recorded music. I have an album called Natamani Kenya. And I'm a
Oh,
Netflix addict. I'm a Netflix addict. I'm
oh
watching season
goodness.
5, Love is Blind.
Hmm.
I travel a lot, both locally and around the country. I can just leave my house to jump into a train to have a train ride to Trenton, New Jersey and back. I just love being on the
Oh,
train and watching the windows. And I cook a lot. I cook different recipes. I love cooking. And what else? Sometimes I also do nothing. I have a nothing day once a month where I just do nothing.
wow.
Like nothing,
Awesome.
nothing. Okay, I'll have to take a bath, sorry. And then I have my food ready. I'll order the food online and they'll drop it at my door, DoorDash. Yeah, and I have a bottle of wine and I do nothing, nothing. It's even hard for me to turn over in my bed. Like it's a nothing day. Maybe I should make it a national holiday.
Yeah,
A
you should. You
nothing day
really
for
should.
persons living with HIV. Yeah.
Because I could see that that is so beneficial, especially in the arena where we are.
Once a
I
month,
do a
no
lot too.
contact, no contact.
Yeah, yes. Right now, I'm doing a lot of stuff within the mental health community, but so
Oh,
that's why
they
we.
need the nothing day. I
Oh,
was so,
yes, yes, and you will have to share all of your skills with us. Uh, you like to
oh,
cook?
I
I
dance
like to
a lot
eat.
and I do the shimmy. Like when I do the shimmy, I'm
We'll
like,
have to get together. We must get together and do some of this. You like to cook? I love to eat.
yeah,
It's a
oh, you
match
love to
made in
eat.
heaven. Match
Okay.
made in heaven. Okay,
Awesome.
and this whole conversation, it has been an awesome experience for me. Thank you so much for spending time and sharing your life with us. It's been awesome. I'm
Thank you
so
for the
grateful to have you in
opportunity.
my
Thank
life.
you for the
Yeah.
opportunity and for listening. We want
Yes,
people to
ma'am.
listen to us.
Yes, we do. We do. We do. Once again, we have Miss Grace Rutha, Shero of the month of October.
And thank you, Myra, for a wonderful interview. Thank you for bringing
Yay.
up in me the beautiful memories that I've been keeping in my heart, and to allow me to share it out with the world so that they can
Okay.
I hope they can be inspired by my story, and that I hope my story is not a trigger but an inspiration and uplifting to our community. I love you all.
Yeah. We love you too. Love you too. Can't wait to see you again.